Welcome to Keeping It Kissel.
That's been getting stuck in my head, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear it now.
And I want to adjust it a little bit, like from time to time. Like do a country version of it.
Oh my God.
Welcome to Keeping It Kissel.
It's very twangy. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Here, I'll pass my guitar away. Welcome back, everybody. Another podcast is upon us.
Thank you for joining us.
Sorry, I got to get
Thank
closer
you for
to the...
listening. Yeah. Come on in.
Is that better?
Yeah. I think, did we mess everything up there?
Did we mess up the camera angles? Because we are filming this.
We did, yeah.
As you know, back up. Perfect. Thank you, Ethan. Our co-producer, Becky, Locke, our executive producer. Cease is the mastermind behind everything, and I'm just happy to be here. I'm Brett Kissel. We've got Cecilia Kissel, and together we are Keeping It Kissel. Keeping It Kissel with the G on Instagram. Please follow us on Instagram. Me, CC, as well as our new site, Keeping It Kissel. It's very exciting that we get this platform and this opportunity to talk about so many things in our lives and the way that we do things, because over the last number of years, we've been married for, 8 years now, going on 9 years. And so many people ask us what we do, how we do it, and the lessons that we've learned, which is why your idea was to start a lifestyle brand. And I'm really happy that you did.
Right. Yeah. I'm really excited too. I think it's been received really well. And I was joking this morning that it's like our love project. Like, don't let our love fern die.
Yeah. Well,
and we've needed a love fern for a while because
we have
children, obviously, and Brett has his career, but we used to do everything together. And now I'm at home more with the kids as we keep adding to the brood. And you're on the road as you keep adding to the albums. So we're trying to find a way to connect.
And what I love about this, Cecilia, and obviously for everybody, is that it gives you and me an opportunity to talk about these real things. And I think celebrate each other and sometimes go through maybe the tough times. You got hills and valleys in every relationship, and identify what maybe went wrong in the valleys and what went well while we were celebrating and riding the highs. And that's why I know that you came up with kind of the concept for this episode, was to talk about the things that we learned this year as we embark on a brand new year, 2020, a new decade.
So I guess it would be the things we learned last year, because now we're...
That's right.
In a new year.
So technically it ain't titled The Things We've Learned This Year.
Yeah, because we haven't learned what we've learned this year yet. It's too soon to tell.
But I'm excited to talk about this because this was a huge year for me personally. I know that you know that.
Personal growth, you're saying?
Yeah, and I never let on with the public or with my fans truly about where I was or where my headspace was, because it was a year like no other. So I don't know exactly where you want to begin on this.
I think it's interesting because obviously I want to know all the dirty details. I was going to touch on you saying just the process of this blog and podcast is an opportunity for us to digest experiences and things, and even process certain things. Talking to each other this way, I've heard sides of you that I've never heard before, seen glimpses of you that I've never seen before, and it's been interesting and it's been fun.
Are you happy or are you frustrated?
I'm not frustrated at all. No, I'm very happy. I think I saw, watching them back, some of the previous ones, it's, I think, a good sign that I don't want to turn it off. I thought that I wouldn't want to hear like my own voice or see my own face. I mean, watching it it's not cringeworthy. It's just not like I don't think it likes to see themselves on film, in photos necessarily. I mean, some people do. I know you love it. Yeah. So they're obviously out there, and maybe it's a female thing, but it's not my favorite thing to see myself sometimes, but I am enjoying it. I'm even enjoying listening back. I said to Becky that, oh my goodness, I don't remember even talking about that. So it's like I'm hearing it for the first time sometimes too.
Well, I think you should be very proud of yourself, because there's a lot of wisdom that you can, I think, bestow on so many people, given your background, your life lessons, and your outlook on life. And
thank you.
I have to say that without question, if it wasn't for you this year helping me through the roughest year that I've ever had, I think since the zone of 2011, like our first year of marriage was there were a lot of ups and downs with that. And I just remember 2011 just being a tough year for me.
Yeah.
We lost grandma and grandpa.
Yeah.
My grandparents passed away in a car accident, and I missed them every day. And that was a very difficult time. That November of 2011 into that Christmas was just really hard.
Yeah.
But this year especially, I couldn't find my place in the world.
Right.
So one of the big lessons that I learned this year was to surrender, be present, and be okay.
Yeah.
In the sense that I was stuck on social media and I was comparing.
Right.
And you knew this because I finally told you after like 2 months of being very blue.
Yeah.
Well, I was specifically taking time off to be with the family or write for this record.
Yeah.
I'm seeing everybody else have all this success. So a lot of my great friends and then competitors, and
compete and compare.
It just effed me.
Yeah.
It really did.
It's not healthy. It's not wrong. It's just, it's not healthy.
I didn't manage my time well. There were a lot of things that I have to say that I don't want to be down on myself, but I feel that I did incorrectly or wrong. Now, there's no right and wrong.
You don't know until you know.
You don't know until you know. But I know that I can go into 2020, or I could talk to my kids or other people now that don't really just spend all this time on social media and compare and compare and compare and get your self-worth.
It's very common
from
today.
That.
Yeah.
That was one of the huge lessons I learned this year.
Which I think we all know that social media is a highlight reel.
Yeah.
It's life's highlight reel. So we're not going to post the dirty and the grungy and the ugly, which I mean, I'm personally fine with, because I understand that. I don't have a bitterness or resentment towards it. It's like, oh, okay, of course you're going to share the best parts of yourself. However, that's also why it was so important to me to start a blog, because I thought it was a safe place where I could share some of my deep feelings and thoughts, and it not like, it's funny because people say, oh, Instagram is like not real. Or even the Instagram versus reality. That's like a huge trend, and those kinds of things. But the moment that somebody posts, not something real, because people love real and they eat that up, but something too heavy, there can be like some backlash as far as like, ooh, she's looking for sympathy or pity, or everything's overanalyzed.
I agree.
So it kind of, I felt like the blog was and here too, the podcast too, but was a really safe space for like, if you want to hear my deepest thoughts and desires and feelings, then you can go out of your way to come and meet me in my home, in my space. And then it's your choice. Where Instagram, it's in your face no matter what. If you follow, you can't be like, okay, don't follow the serious stuff. Just follow the happy. Because we like to be uplifted, I think, and we look for inspiration in different places. But if you're going, if you want to get a little bit deeper and you want to get a little more personal, then come talk to us on our blog, because that's where we're going to be sharing some of our deeper thoughts and feelings.
Did you ever think that when we got married, or as the last 8 years rolled by, that you would want to do this or want to share in this way?
I never knew what it was going to be, actually, but I've always wanted to encourage people. I think that's my goal in life, is to be an encourager, and not like a cheerleader, although I do have that as in me, like as a mom, as a wife. But
there's a big difference between cheerleading and being like, you got this, or as opposed to,
right,
let's talk about this.
But
let me
think
help you. Let me encourage you. It's very deep what you do.
But I think they both have an importance. Like, I do love cheering our kids on. I do love cheering you on. So there is that aspect, but you're right. Encouraging gets a little bit deeper, a little bit real and honest. And I always thought, it's funny, as a kid, that I would be like a church youth group leader, and that I would have like all of these, like a following for like encouraging young minds. I guess it just happens to be like-minded females, which I'm also great with. It's like whoever you can reach and touch. But I did want to touch on, I think that artists, and it's not just artists, maybe it's creative minds, maybe it's just the human experience, but there's a lot of people out there who, but especially artists, I would say, of any kind, are seeking outside validation. And
100%.
And that's a really, really hard thing to fulfill if you can't fulfill it within yourself.
I'll say I guess I suffered from it. I don't have a good vocabulary, but I went through that in a big way over the last number of years.
You were affected by it.
I was affected by it. And everything, why Instagram has taken away likes and why they've adjusted their mandate is for people like me. I would wonder,
Yeah.
why am I only getting this amount of likes?
Right.
What did I do wrong?
Right.
What's the algorithm? What's this,
Oh my God.
this? This person posted a similar thing. It was getting so bad that I took a month off of
That's right.
social
and
media.
I took over for you.
And you took over. I don't remember what month that was, but that was so good for me to completely clear my head because
Yeah.
social media was
You
a
needed
big
a healthier
struggle for
relationship
me.
with
I did.
Social platforms. It's funny. I wouldn't say that I'm like untouched by it, but it's such a separate thing for me. Like I don't feel one with my socials at all. And that was challenged actually this year when I had my Instagram hacked and stolen from me. Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. It was
3
like
days
held
gone.
ransom and there was like an internet bandit and
Wanted a pile of
an
money.
internet pirate.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they like hacked it. It was weird too because the night before I was talking to my best friend on the phone and we were just having a conversation about how people take their socials so seriously. And like, there are some people in our lives that we were like, what would happen if their account was just gone like that? And the words left my mouth and I literally said, I would be fine. If tomorrow my Instagram was gone and, you know.
I remember that.
And
you were hacked within.
But I said I would be fine. If it was deleted, gone, can't have it anymore. My children are safe and healthy. My husband is safe and healthy. I'm healthy. I'm happy. We have a home. Like, I kind of remember listing all the things that are just great in our lives. I woke up that morning and I went to just click on it and it was gone. Gone.
Yes,
like,
at
doesn't
Cecilia
exist.
Kissel does not exist.
Gone. I'm like, holy shit. And be careful where you aim that thing. Our friend Lynette always says, because like your lips to God's ears, whatever that is, whatever that might
Whatever
be.
you speak to the universe,
will come
and it's listening and stuff like that.
At all times. Yeah. So, but it was really interesting. I didn't feel anxiety, like, you know, you tune into what you felt, and I took a deep breath and I was like, okay, everyone's safe. Everyone's fine. And I actually laughed because I'm like, okay, well, you said it. Here you go. Like, here's the real test. And then I called Danielle like 6 times because I'm like, so this just happened. Because that's like, it was her I was talking to, and it was so crazy. And then we did get it back, but they actually wanted me to pay money for it. And I'm like, I'm not going to pay. And I thought, if they delete it and I have to start from scratch, like, so be it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I learned a lot on social media as far as self-value and validation and those kinds of things, and understanding what's real and what's fake and what's kind of a cheap thrill or what's the real thing for my heart. What are some things, whether they're big or small, that you learned about yourself over the past 365 days?
Oh my goodness. I have learned to take better care of myself. I have learned.
How so?
Oh my goodness. I instantly got emotional.
Yeah.
Like, instantly. Ooh. I never put myself first in anything.
Mm-hmm.
Anything. Everyone in my life, and especially my children and you, I always put first. And this year I learned that if... Can I have a tissue? I don't want to wreck my makeup.
I wish...
I'm so sorry, that just like came out of
I had
nowhere.
She's grabbing some upstairs.
Ooh. I just really don't want to wreck it.
No, I understand.
Sorry.
You cry big tears too.
I know, and it'll
Everybody,
like
Cece,
wreck everything on my face.
Cece, when she cries, each teardrop is about the size of a dime.
Oh,
Literally.
okay, I'm sorry.
Why would you apologize? Don't worry.
Because it just came out of nowhere. Thank you so much. I didn't expect it. That's why it just like totally just apparently was just sitting on the what's it called, on the lid of my eye, like just like waiting.
Just waiting on the surface.
Okay, let's try that again.
Learn to put yourself first.
You know what? Ultimately, I realize that my kids will be whatever I am today, not what I am when they're gone from home. Yeah. And if I want them to put themselves first and to love themselves the way they deserve and the way that I want them to feel about themselves, that I have to embody that and be an example for that.
Yeah, of course.
And that's been a really hard, journey to look in the mirror and really, it's funny. I think we talked about this in a previous podcast, how, when I look at our children and we're doing things and experiencing life together, that I don't see 3 children, I see 4, and that the 4th one is me. I feel the same way about their lives, and just realizing that, yes, you get to reparent yourself, your inner child, through this journey of parenthood. But that also means how you picture your life. So it's weird. I don't know if everyone feels this way about parenting or about life, but often I think to myself, what's my ideal thought or feeling about my child, and their confidence and how they feel about themselves as adults. What would my goal and dream be? And I think about someone who cares for themselves deeply. The saying that people will treat you how you allow them to treat you. So the confidence, the bravery to step out and stand out, but it's
step up and say no,
right?
Or to set boundaries
are a big thing. But it's if I can't do that myself, why would they?
Yeah,
they will be everything that we are, and what does that look like? So that's constant growth, constant pushing yourself to be better and bigger and wiser and smarter. But that's also taking a break when you need a break, sitting back and just actually tuning into yourself, your body, your mind, your soul, what your needs are. And if I don't do that, how could I expect them to have it figured out?
It's an amazing thing to discover. And like I've said, publicly, privately, every day, how much I appreciate you as the mom to our kids.
Thank you.
You know what? The minute that it all started to change, now it wasn't a quick flick of a switch, but the minute that you started to go down this path of self-love and self-care,
right, which we can be candid that we've both started seeing a life coach, a life mentor, and so we see her one-on-one, and then we see her as a couple as well.
And you know what, for anyone who's going, I'll take a quick side note, for anybody who's going through the ups and the downs, especially maybe a downward slide in marriage or relationship or with your partner, this isn't this quick, immediate fix, like reading a book and then you're done, or take a course and we've put in the work and we continue to put in the work all the time. And that's one of the biggest things, is that we made a plan and a commitment to each other to put forth the work. But one of the big things for each of us was to be happy with who we are.
Well, that's a goal now. I don't know that it was that we had that awareness, that self-awareness.
Oh, I didn't have the awareness.
Yeah, where we do now. But I think I want to take it a step further and go even further back. So 2 things. One was that you and I have always agreed that we would never get divorced unless we tried absolutely everything. Because we thought this was before we even had kids. We thought, I don't want to ever say to our child, we tried everything, and for them to say but did you go to that retreat in couples retreat in
Tahiti?
That's supposed to be life-changing. Well, no, we didn't try that.
Did you quit your job and blah 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 and hunker down? Did you
and
go to a cabin in the woods?
Well, no, we didn't try that.
But we did everything. No, it literally. If we could do,
we can look
everything.
them in the face and say, we tried everything.
Yeah.
And so that obviously has served us along the way, because anytime that we've haven't invested enough time into our relationship, because anything, if you don't, it will die. Yeah. It's like a plant. It either grows, and there's a time, maybe there's not enough sunshine or whatever, and it might be on the verge of dying, but I feel we've never let it die.
We've never given up at the same time. Yeah.
And then number 2, you've often said this. I know you quoted it in the book that you were featured in. Do you know which book I'm talking
40
about?
Fathers.
40 Fathers, which if you haven't read it, it's an incredible book. Please
pick it up. It's the most vulnerable I've ever been in an interview at all. Tessa Lloyd is the author, and she
it has
interviewed
been one of my
40
favorite books to read. I am not a book reader, but it is such an easy read. It's beautifully written, and it's in your words. So like, and there's 40 fathers total featured in the book, and it's just like it's raw and intimate and
we all
real.
talk about our personal lessons that we've learned as fathers and also as sons.
Yes, with your
as sons
fathers.
with our own dads, whether we had one or not, or what we missed or what we learned. And often some of the greatest lessons we learned were the things that maybe a dad didn't do, as opposed to the things that the dad did do.
Right, and we've discussed that too, that like how much you learn from
It was a big thing
the
this year.
absent experiences. But anyways, what you had quoted in that book was how important it is to spend time on your mental state, and how there's such a stigma around getting help or talking to a therapist or a psychiatrist or whatever form, a doctor, just to get some help. Because, and how did you word it?
Well, I worded it, if I'm thinking of the same quote, is that if I can take guitar lessons to become a better guitar player, vocal lessons to become a better vocalist, or entertainment lessons to become a better entertainer, business lessons to become better in business and finance, then why can't I take marriage lessons from a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist for my mental state? All of those things led me to believe that in order to be a better human being and a better husband and a better dad, that I can still take lessons and I can learn from other people, and I can learn from people with a degree on the wall who can teach these things. And that was one of the biggest things for me to end that stigma this year.
You had said people take their vehicle to get it tuned up. I
can get my brain or my heart tuned up.
You go to a specialist like sports
medicine, psychology.
Well, not even psychology. That's what we're talking about. That's the stigma. We're talking about physical. Like people, it's like, oh, you want to learn to be a photographer? Go take a class. You want to, there's a class for everything. So this is essentially one-on-one work on yourself about your soul.
And
like,
it has helped our marriage. It has helped my relationship with you in such a big way.
It feels like a no-brainer to me.
I agree, but there's such a stigma. Like anyone will talk about mental health and everything, and we're ending the stigma there. Well, there's a stigma about relationship and couples things that
couples therapy.
Couples therapy where people will not do it, or they're so afraid to go and do it that they don't want anyone to see them get out of the vehicle.
Vulnerable. People are scared to be vulnerable.
And walk up to Dr. So-and-so's to talk about this because you'd only be there if there's an issue. Well, there's an issue. I'm not as good as I could be or as I should be for my spouse. So I'm there, and I've owned it.
So we started couples therapy before we got married. It was like what do they say nowadays? A lot of churches and places, it's
they recommend it. You'll sit down with
sometimes it's not even recommended. Sometimes it's mandatory.
Oh, I guess if you want to get married in that church, you're right.
Yeah, like that you do couples counseling.
Yeah.
And we just never stopped. And I'm so glad that we didn't.
And it wasn't based on religion or anything for us in that realm, but not only did it help the relationship, but for me and the blue state, and I got to be very careful that I don't talk about the word depression or being depressed, because I know that's a very serious word, but I felt I was hovering on that. And I know no one would ever judge me for whatever reasons. I don't think the word matters, but I was just so blue. Life was gray.
And I feel like you skirting that word is like a stigma. Like, it's like, so what? I mean, maybe you weren't. If you feel like there's the baby blues, there's postpartum depression. If you want to call it blue, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But
in my opinion, and again, this is no judgment, I just feel that's a layer deeper. And I know I could have been sadder. I could have been darker. And that to me, because I didn't get there, wasn't full on.
I think you're also saying that because you don't ever want to, you don't feel that you were so dark down in the dumps that you don't want to diminish someone else who was so dark down in the dumps. And I think you do that also because you're like, my life is so good. Like, I think you judge yourself for having those feelings because of how great your life is. I should be happy. I should this. and we always say, don't shit on yourself. There's nothing positive. Should just be completely eliminated from the English. It just has too much guilt and shame attached to it. That's the only reason it's there.
You're absolutely right. I was so worried about no one believing me or getting it.
Yeah.
Because from an
Like,
outsider looking in,
happy? You
we've
have
got
it all.
so much.
Yeah.
And I felt that internally there were a lot of things that were crumbling.
But we were talking about this the other day, that like joy, happiness, an incredible life is literally just a perspective away. And so that's why,
yes, you're right.
That's why it's possible for wealthy people to be depressed. You can sit there and judge someone and be like, you have $1 million in the bank and you have the biggest house and the fanciest cars. Why? What do you have to be depressed over? You hear it all the time when celebrities are ending their lives, essentially taking their own lives. That is because of their perspective, their state, where they're in, feeling helpless. That's why you see some of the poorest people in countries in the world in some of the happiest states, because they're doing their daily dues essentially, which is counting their blessings, which is being thankful, being grateful, taking the time to live in a state of gratitude, which is actually life-changing. It changes every part of every perspective. But I think we're here to tell you that it doesn't matter where you are in your life. If you're down and you're struggling and you're having a hard time, that's okay.
Absolutely.
And don't
no matter what
get into a
zone
state
of
of
life,
mind where
don't
you're
compare,
judging your own feelings.
Don't judge
yourself even.
Exactly.
That's one of the hardest things, is like, we think judgment is horrible across the board, but we do it.
Really
we're the hardest on ourselves.
Yeah.
We judge ourselves the harshest.
If we were to go with a few bullet points, Cecilia, of what 2019 was for us and some of the big things. So you've talked about self-care, you've talked about self-love. Were there little things? Like for me, some of the little things that I learned and did was like, I am adopting moving forth, because 2019 I wasn't good at this. Like $1 saved is $1 earned. Like I'm going to learn to save better.
No spending.
Yeah. Be very conscious with my spending. That was one of the big things that I did not learn this year.
That could be a podcast on its own.
Like shit, I did not learn this year, but I'm in the back quarter of the year. I feel I was a lot more conscious with that. So that would be a quick bullet point. Like you said, it could be a podcast. Yeah. Anything come to mind for you?
The biggest thing I've adopted this year is no judgments, no opinions, no expectations.
Yeah.
And that is coined by a friend of ours, our mentor. She calls them no-Joe jobs. And I have embodied that to my core. We can obviously dive into that another time, because every one of those, but that has changed my life.
We should get her on our podcast.
Absolutely. It's going to happen. It just is.
I agree.
Yeah.
So no Joe jobs was very important. No judgments, opinions, or expectations.
Has changed my life.
Another thing that I'll just say I regret over 2019 that I will not allow to have happen moving forward. So it's definitely a lesson learned, is I put off certain things, as in, I put off seeing certain members of my family or certain friends.
Okay.
Because don't worry, I've got this block in the calendar. I'll do it next month.
Okay.
It's not a big deal. You know what? When I'm in the vehicle, I'll make that call then. Something always came up.
Always.
Nothing would ever go according to plan.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't going to go see, for example, my grandparents, I was not going to go see them in June because I knew I had a lot of time in July. But I just said, screw it. I'm going to go out in June, spend these 2 days, to which I did. And I'm so glad I did, because July got filled up. And I told them, don't worry, I'll see you in July. Never happened. Don't worry, I'll see you in August. Never happened. So for me, moving forward is, if I've got it in my mind to make that call to that person, I really, really want to do that this year.
So being more intentional, which I do feel like that is our goal this year, having a year of intention. Everything we do is like with intention. The one other thing I would probably add to the list is Oh, geez. It just totally left my brain.
Were there any fun things this year? Like fun bullet points of lessons that you
Not
learned?
bullet points. That's a whole nother... That could be one by itself, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think I there would be too many.
And you've probably seen this. I've slept less this year so I could spend more time with the kids.
Yeah.
First flight home, the last flight out. And I just truly believe that because there's 24 hours in the day, I can sleep another time.
Right.
I just don't want to miss those moments
Yeah.
with Mila, Aria, and Leo.
course.
That was another big thing for me.
I've
And-
slept less just trying to, drive back into our business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for anybody out there who's reflecting on the year that you just had and the year that's coming up, everybody's been talking about 2020 and everything like that. It's the new decade. There's no time like the present. Say you fall off the wagon and you go revert back to maybe some of your old habits that you weren't necessarily pleased with. Don't judge yourself. Don't have any unrealistic expectations
Right.
about the new year. Just work towards it one step at a time,
Yeah.
one day at a time.
Yeah. And if you do fall off the wagon, give yourself some grace.
I agree.
Like, just, create a little space for yourself.
What we want to do with our platform, with this podcast, with the blogging that you do, Cecilia, with the website and everything that we're building is to develop a community. That's why
Right.
our mission statement and our big
Is it
motto.
our kick tribe? The little
Yeah,
kickies?
that's right. Our kick tribe is, and of course you'll call it kickies. That's really cute. If I said it, everybody like, Brett, you're such a weirdo. But you say it, it's like, oh, Cece, that's so cute.
I just think of the kids, like,
Yeah.
hi. I think it
So-
just sounds so cute.
We are a lifestyle brand that focuses on celebrating and supporting family, equality, and unity.
Yeah.
That is, without question, the most important thing and way of life for us.
Yeah.
So we hope that your 2019, you have some great things to draw on. And as you march forward every day, if you're listening to this after this podcast has been out for a long time, or you're hearing this for the very first time right now,
Yeah.
we're in your corner. And,
Yeah, and
we
we-
hope that you can learn some things from us.
We'd
too in
like
our
to hear
journey.
maybe what you learned in 2019. What stood out to you? Maybe we could learn something from you.
I agree. If there are some things that we've said that actually are really cool bullet points or triggers for you to be like, I bet you my suggestion could really help them.
Right.
This is a community.
Yeah, bring it on.
So please let us know. And thank you
We
very
are
much for tuning in today.
The focus of self-growth and self-love and care.
Yeah, we're focusing on that for sure. So thank you very much. Please follow Cecilia at Cecilia Kissel. Follow me at Brett Kissel on Instagram as well. And together, we're keeping it Kissel. That was a great sign off. I liked that.
Okay.
It ain't no secret. The secret to this smile, it ain't complicated. In fact, it's easy to describe the perfect start to the perfect day. I could say it in a couple words. This morning, having coffee with her.